got to say is, how about them Cowboys?
What is going on, Cowboy Nation? Welcome back to Primetime Studios. Like always, I'm your host, Primetime Phil. And like always, hey man, GameTime Bryan is here. But before I jump back over to GameTime Bryan, and I just want to say welcome back. We had last week off with the Father's Day. We were just spending some time enjoying the season. Hold on one second. I'm kidding. Hold on. You can go ahead, Bryan. Bring it in, man.
Primetime Phil and family. How is everybody doing, man? How is everybody doing? It feels like it's been forever and ever since we had a live stream. Phil was kind of doing some stuff last week. I was busy. Then I had a little procedure. I was laid up for a few days. It's really cool to be back. I'm ready to roll. I did send the bat signal out on Twitter. I want to get more Eagles fans in this chat. I hope Twiz isn't the only guy that's showing up.
How dare you say that?
There's been a lot of people view it, man. Hopefully they show up. We're gonna hold off the comparison. We're gonna break it all down, Twiz. Don't hate me, bro.
We got a really good crowd in here. Of course, Twiz is in here. Brooklyn Joe giving him crap along the whole way. Angelica, I feel like when I see Angelica's stuff on Twitter, I'm like, man, I haven't really seen her in a long time. So it's of course great to see.
How are you,
Angelica? And then Mike Aldana is in here.
Caramel Corn.
Stacy, of course, Roland's Review. Caramel Corn. There's got to be Sugar Daddy Williams, Alan Williams. Alana Walker, Crystal, Caramel Corn. There it is. But hey, welcome guys. Welcome as this debate. I threw a lot of this stuff together today, and that's where I think he was really jumping on the Twitter sphere in the sense that I need to put everything together. I need to put the thumbnail together. We need to put some overlays together, and he was kind of buying me some time. So as I was being lazy,
well, he said, you basically what do you want to talk about? And listen. You know me, I always got stuff we could talk about, But, the hot topic, and we're not going to jump right into it because we want to touch on a few things. But we'll let everybody get in here. We sometimes have a late arriving crowd. We're going to touch on the state of what's going on before training camp. It's right around the corner. But the main topic, everywhere I turn, everybody's trying to compare Dak versus Jalen. I'm on record, Phil. I give a lot of respect to Jalen Hurts, but you put me in a corner, I'm going to come out. I'm going to come out fighting, and tonight's going to be that fight, man. I'm going to show you as best I could do, in my opinion.
I think it's funny because as you were going in there, you're like, I know what I want to do, and then you kind of start looking into it. You know what? I'm going to tear into him. I'm not going to hold anything back. With me, I'm just like,
I'm always so nice, and I get it jammed up my keister.
Well, I think I was the opposite in the sense that I'm like, I'm going to give it to him because obviously I'm with a lot of the Cowboy fans in the sense of the inflation, in the sense of the stats and the rookie contract, all that stuff I was adding into the team. And then I started looking really deeply into it, and I'm kind of there where I'm like, okay, I'll give you some props, of course, but of course it's not going to be. You're not coming onto the Cowboy channels expecting us to give you all that.
Ultra Cowboys in the house.
Ultra Cowboy, Lady Libra, what's going on?
Can you see Ultra or no?
I cannot see Ultra.
Dude,
this is our ritual. You say Ultra's lines.
So I'm just gonna have to.
You might have to get an Ultra like a mask and stuff, and go. Swip it out whenever he's gonna talk for him. I like.
The first shot has been fired by Ultra Cowboy when the Chiefs player screamed, "Hot potato!" Hurts fumbled the Super Bowl away. So yes, fumble hurts.
Oh, there's going to. Well, that's the thing is when I asked him for the topic,
we've been taking a lot lot of crap, Phil. Us Cowboy fans, everywhere we turn, we're getting crapped on.
31 other teams.
But I mean, I know, but
when I was asking him, okay, what subject do you really want to cover? He gives me this one. I'm like, whoa, you just really want to just break it out. It's like saying who's the best superhero or something.
I mean, you got all these. You got the Shady McCoy. He's a Dak hater. It just seems like it's that slow period. Before training camp. Now it's Dak sucks or Jalen's best. Listen, and we're going to get into it. So let's just hold
I
off.
think in both of those characteristics, I think when people go to explain
put that on the back burner for now. Let people get in.
It's never in the middle. It's either bad
man?
or good. It's bad or good. It's this. I've been great, man. Work kind of slowed down for us with the summertime, and we go by waves in Florida, of course, with the tourism. And summertime kind of slows down. It gets handed back to the Floridians, and we do. That's when we really come out and we do our crazy ass shit. Is when we don't have tourists around. That's. Going out to the lake, swinging off the ropes, that kind of stuff, And so, next thing you know, you're on the 5 o'clock news, and then Florida, man, it's like. But how have you been, Brian? You feeling better after your surgery?
I had a little procedure. It is what it is. I'm feeling good now, though.
Well, how have the Cowboys been? Let me ask you about that. How have the Cowboys been? Going into it, there's a lot stirring around. There's no, camp type of stuff, but there are people talking, and that's including our camp. Anything you want to start off on?
Well, I think, it's going to be very, very interesting. Now, we've been hearing a lot about how, Brandon Cooks has been a breath of fresh air. Listen, that's going to make a big difference. He's a walk-in 1,000-yard receiver, okay? Dak Prescott, I'm just going to tell you, it was him and CeeDee Lamb. That was about it last year. That was very impressive what happened. So I think really you're bringing Brandon Cooks in, but I want to get into this offensive line, and I don't know what you guys think, but to me, this is the pivotal. I think they're going to be good regardless. I really do. But this is what could separate us being good, winning a playoff game, to possibly going very deep, which, it's funny. You hear people go, so what are they going to do? And they're going to they're going to win 12 games. So it all comes down to what you do when you get into the playoffs. Now, I don't know that they'll win 12. I'm less worried about the number as opposed to just getting in playing good. But we need to get into this offensive line, and I want to know, everybody in the chat, what do you guys think about this line? I mean,
it's the weakest part of our team, second to kicker.
I think it is. I think we can honestly say, and I don't think it's horrible, but I definitely think it's the area that needs to come together in order for us to go where we want to go. And So, what do you think about it? I would say our weak spot is Tyron Smith. Am I the only one saying that? Obviously, Terrence Steele is coming back from an injury. I get it. But, I think Tyron did not play good at right tackle. So until we find out what they're going to do with Tyron Smith, it could be interesting, Phil. That's the one thing that scares me big time. Okay,
so when I look at the offense, I think, new offensive coordinator. I don't care what. Oh, it's the same play and everything. Well, guess what? It's just somebody different in his ear when the times matter, and whether the dialogue is going to be different. Just what you can say around each other at certain times. You can't talk about each other's mama because he's the coach and boss. It's just little things like that. It's like little joking stuff like that. But something is going to be different. And when you look at the offensive line, that's where I think we're very weak on. And then maybe you can take it, you can kind of make up with it for the quarterback, which he's a very good quarterback and definitely above average. But when you look at the running game has always kind of been there to support Dak Prescott, because Zeke was obviously a big huge contributor to that. And then of course you had Tony Pollard that was pushing him out of the way. Why? Because he was a home run type of hit. So when you look at that, you don't have that. You got Tony Pollard still coming off of an injury year, and looking good, but you don't have the star. You don't have we need to get the rock in this guy's hand, and he's going to be able to dictate the pace of this game, and we just don't have that. So you're going to rely on tight ends and wide receivers, and I'm happy with the room that we have compared to previous years. So obviously, that part I like. It's just, can the offensive line give him enough time to do that? And I could be totally worrying about it totally wrong, in the sense that maybe they have an amazing running game that comes out of it, and I'm like, okay, well, I didn't see that coming. There's a lot of contributing factors there.
Yeah. I believe I told Mark, and I see Mark in the chat. What's up, buddy? I miss you, man. I can't wait to
He's
be
working
hang
his
out
butt
again.
off. Yeah.
From what I gather, they're going to take pieces of this offense, this Texas coast. We already talked about that, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take a big chunk of the West Coast and add it to what they're already doing well. They're going to get rid of some bad stuff, but the main change is going to be how they run the ball in this new offense, and they can only help. The running game stalled halfway through the year. The fact that we did what we did down the stretch with little to no running game, and once Pollard went down, it was a wrap. That's where it's going to be different. But Michael Dana made a comment, okay? And, I'm coming full circle because this is what I said at the beginning, and then I heard, the Tyron's playing right. I think they want, the new thing. It's not really new because the Cowboys have been doing it, but they're really big on position flex. If you can play multiple positions, that's what they want. They can carry less at that spot if that's the case. Makes sense, right? Mm-hmm. I want somebody who's dominant at that position. That's my difference. I want somebody who's going to be dominant. I don't give a crap if he's only a left guard. I could care less if he can't play center. But the Cowboys, and they know more than I, but they haven't won in the Super Bowl in how long, so I don't know how much they really know. Sometimes they get too caught up in position flex. But Michael Dana said he wants Tyron Smith to play left tackle. And you know what?
Yeah.
I'm on board with it right now because this is it. It's one and done for Tyron Smith. He's done after this year. If he can't play left tackle where he's played his whole career at a Pro Bowl level, then I sure as hell don't want him going to the right side because he did not play good down the stretch on the right side. Your thoughts on that, Phil? Do you want him at left tackle, or are you okay with him just being an extra? I mean, he's not going to be an extra. He's going to be a starter.
Yeah, so, I thought he was, I think that's where we kind of went into his contract. He was given a certain, okay, we're going to decrease this, and we're going to, if you play 50% of the snaps, 60% you get this much, 70%. How the heck was he going to do that as a backup? So to me, the whole plan since the day one of them restructuring, re-signing, whatever they did with him, and you want to call it, it was in the cards. That's what they were going to do. It's just you're not promising somebody something like that and then just taking it back and going, well, if you get 70% of the snaps, sucker, it's so I think Tyron Smith is obviously the thing there. I've doubted the coaching staff, and I guess it's not really the same coaching staff, so you gotta have to wonder if you're going to actually doubting
offensive line.
Yeah,
Mike Solari.
So before I would doubt them in the sense of some of these picks they've had. But no, these picks have been amazing. And so when they were, of course, we've said this over and over again, but when they talk about Steele, we were not on board with Steele. We were just like, no, man, we need to get somebody else. Collins is our guy, and we all saw that, we all some of us were blinded by the fact that Collins was declining and Steele was the man. But we were like, no, we'd rather have Collins until we saw it with our own eyes. And then we're just like, okay, now look at Steele. And, so you don't have that, decline in the position. So he's held that, and they have that same thing with Walesko, and that's to me is a little bit of surprise because again, Walesko, I really want him to work out, but with him not seeing any kind of lick of playing time, it's hard to say that he's going to. But they're high on him,
Well, yeah, and I agree, and I don't know what I don't know right now. I believe he's going to be ready. I do believe it. I'm on record saying I believe that Terrence Steele will be ready to go. I think, honestly, I want Tyron, Tyler, Biotish, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele. If Terrence Steele plays any other position than right tackle, then I'm going to just start screaming. It took him how long, and he's on the cusp of a Pro Bowl now at right tackle. Why in the heck would you move him? Tyron did not play good at right tackle. Mm-mm. He did not. He did not have a good year last year. But be that as it may, right, Mark? I want to touch on a couple young guys. One comes from Phil's alma mater, the University of Oregon, the Ducks. TJ Bass, they love this kid. They had him starting on the right side when because Tyron is not always in there, at right tackle. TJ Bass. What I don't want Mark Holmes, I don't want TJ Bass, or they really, really like Asim Richards out of North Carolina. He's gonna be big for our future. He needs to get a little stronger. I don't want them to do what they did to John Ridgeway and try and mess around with these two guys and try and slide them on the practice squad. They both need that a full year of NFL conditioning, get a little stronger. So they need to be on the roster. You cannot let these guys go. That's how good these guys can be. And please, if we're going to get rid of somebody, you get rid of Josh Ball. That's the guy. Josh Ball, and I want to say it was Ultra Cowboys say Chuma Edoga. Chuma, it's going to come down to this. It's going to come down to Josh Ball or Chuma Edoga fighting for a roster spot. You can't have them both on your team. The only thing I would say is if there's an injury, then it all goes for naught and they'll both be on the team. But where I sit here today, do not float out our young guys because TJ Bass looks really good. And he was the free agent that they picked up that they gave a lot of money to. So do not mess with that, please.
Yeah,
Please.
we just know that this defensive front in general, or the defense, it's going to be really stacked. You're going to lose somebody. I think that's why you need to kind of put it out there, early that you're trying to get rid of certain people. There's other people that need to step up, like Gallimore. That there's going to be some young guys, breathing down his neck. So he definitely needs to show something early. So you wonder how much preseason time he's going to get. And, obviously cutting the roster is totally different than it has been in previous years. So you'll be able to hang on to these guys a little bit longer. It's going to get very interesting going into camp, going into the beginning of the season, going into the preseason. I don't think the roster is definitely set. And I really say that offensively because, again, we're talking about the offensive line in that gist. But, I think a lot of our other positions are really stacked. So it's just, that's the position. The running back,
There's not many
quarterback
weaknesses on this team.
No.
Anything that I wouldn't say it's a weakness. Well, the offensive line, it's not a weakness. It's just unanswered questions at this point.
It's a weakness compared to what we've had in previous years, what we're used to. An amazing Travis Frederick, holstering that line. Zach Martin, of course, year after year, you're just wondering, Father Time, how's it going with that whole thing? And so you just need to make sure, we have that win now mentality, that we don't waste people's careers like we have for quite a bit of time.
Ultra Cowboy says Tyron is washed. Just watch how he got abused by the 49ers.
He did.
In the 2021 playoff game. Tyler is a better left tackle. I agree, but if you're playing... All I'm saying, Ultra, is if Tyron is starting, you might as well play him at left tackle. It's already been shown that Tyler can play left guard. It's only going to be for one more year. We know it's only, that Tyron is a ticking time bomb. It's only a matter of time before he pulls something. I'm not trying to be mean, but I'm being honest.
I'm hoping one of these young guys
also says, TJ Bass is a practice squad player. Cowboys are high on Chuma. They wanted to trade. Yeah, and I agree. They wanted to trade for him last year. He ended up going to Atlanta. Didn't have a good year with Atlanta. He's an average guy. I would keep Chuma over what's his name? Who was
Josh
it?
Ball.
I said.
Anyways,
Josh Ball.
Yeah.
Well, I would definitely keep him over Josh Ball.
When you look at the potential at the left tackle, I mean, you got Tyron Smith, obviously, that you were talking about. Tyler Smith, that's the future, and you're thinking that's where that they're thinking as well, unless they're trying to solidify that left guard like they did the right guard with Zach Martin, and they just stick the guy in there, and then they worry about that other stuff. Now, when you look at the potential to play left tackle, Matt Walesko? Anybody else on this team? Not really.
Yeah.
But when you look at the left guard,
themselves some Farniok.
When you look at the left guard, take away Tyler Smith because obviously that's the back and forth guy. But you got who he was talking about, Chuma. That was
Edoga.
You got him as a potential. I'm sorry, but even these guys that are playing offensive like center, Lindstrom, those kind of things, those guys have potential to also come in there and play a guard position. So to me, there's a lot more potential at that guard positioning, finding the gap. if because you're not going to obviously put Tyron Smith in there at left guard.
Yeah.
The guy's way too big. But to me, it makes more sense to solidify that left tackle position with your young guy, and then figure it out with your left tackle with the rest.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, we want to figure out in the sense, let's sign somebody and get it solidified. But nope, we got to figure out who that is. I think there's so much more potential to, like as Vach likes to call it, wrestling a bear in a phone booth.
In a phone booth?
In a phone booth.
Yeah.
And you have a lot more
Yeah.
guys that can do that. So I like that kind of combination.
Yeah. Yeah. Glimmer Man said Ball is done and Alarcon.
Dude, yeah.
Or whatever.
Alarcon,
him to
he was defense. And I think that's even another. He might as well be kicker. He might as well be kicker. Like,
he's done. Yeah, exactly. You can't do that.
Like, you can't just start switching and like.
Alarcon. Yeah. And he also says that Tyron Smith wants it and we want it. Tyron Smith wants it.
Yeah, we want
his
it.
body
Yeah.
is done. The Tyron has had some fluke injuries, but they have stacked up. Yeah, and it's one of those things where I feel bad for him, but as a Cowboy fan, I need to be selfish a little bit, right? I need to be a little selfish. Like, we need to do what's better for the team. Now, okay, we're gonna start you out. If you start getting smoked, you're going to the bench, bro.
Mm-hmm.
You're gonna go to the bench. We're gonna put Tyler at left tackle. And we'll roll, whether it's, but we're going to we always seem to keep a lot of linemen because linemen are the one position. You just don't want to release a veteran if you can help it. If you have an injury during the middle of the year, you want to be able to have some linemen that you don't have to go out of the organization to get because that rarely works. You could do that for corner. You could pick up a corner. You could do that for running back. But you can't do that on the offensive line. So they're going to keep at least 10. Even with the position flex, I do not want to dangle TJ Bass out there. Ultra, they really like him. So I'm just telling you, they really like him. So he's going to have a future as well as Asim Richards. He needs to get a little stronger. But that's what they were saying. I was watching a podcast and they were saying that Josh Ball, him and Alec Lindstrom, they came back and their body hasn't changed. Now they're from last year. Normally these guys, you could tell, oh my God, he's been working out. I mean, that's what they do, right?
Mm-hmm. That's not been the case.
That's the one thing about Alec Lindstrom. He's a practice squad type of guy. Left-handed snapper, kind of odd. But he has potential. He's got pedigree with his brother. But he has to get stronger. So Alec is not ready to roll. Just throwing it out there. But yeah, the offensive line is going to be what we need to look at in training camp. If it really comes together and Steele's healthy, Phil, then it could be even better than I think it's going to be. But that is right now, that and running back getting sorted out is the two big things that we need to find out.
All right, so I think we're at that point. I mean, we talked about the battles that they're going to be. I think a lot of the positions, we have stars in many of those positions, is figuring out who's kind of who's playing what at what time of the game. So I have a lot of these guys that you can kind of switch around and do different things with, and so we see the endless possibilities with a lot of these guys. So one of those guys, of course, being Dak Prescott. And, not having very much depth behind him, of course, he has to be that guy.
My quarterback.
So we get into the subject of that's going to probably break the internet, and everybody's just going to lose their crap over. Now, as we talk about Dak versus Hurts, it's a team game. Of course, Dak's going against the Eagles' defense, and of course, Jalen Hurts is going against the Cowboys' defense. So they're not truly going against each other with the team sport and everything, but there are stats out there that kind of support both guys, depending on how you look at it and how you want to spin it. And I think that's the reason why both teams have really, fan bases, have had so much ammo to kind of go at each other. And that's why it is a great debate, because, depending on what you represent, I mean, it's going to be a pretty ugly depending who you're talking to. So, do you want to start it off? Give us something.
Well, let's get into Dak real quick. Dak was at a fundraiser and a kid yelled out, right? He yelled out, like, we're going to win the Super Bowl. And Dak said, you're damn right we're going to win the Super Bowl. And Dak's not backing out of that at all. He's going in full bore, which is what I want. I want my quarterback to have confidence. 1 year with 15 INTs and everybody's panicking. Well, I almost think, Phil, that we're not panicking. I honestly think that the Eagles fans want us to get rid of Dak because they can't beat him. As bad of a quarterback as he is, and we're going to get into it, they can't beat him. Do you know how many wins Jalen Hurts has against Dak Prescott? I mean, how many wins he has versus Dak? Just
0.
Jalen Hurts.
I thought it was 2. I thought it was 2 for some reason.
No, he's never beaten Dak Prescott. He's 0-2 versus Dak Prescott. He's beaten the Cowboys 2 times, but he's never beaten Dak Prescott. So now we know better, right? But this is what I'm talking about. I'm tired of hearing whether it be Lord Brunson, Cole's Cowboys. No, every time I go onto Twitter, I see Cole's Cowboys and Lord Brunson going back and forth. And every time I come to Lord _ Brunson, all you Eagle trolls and Eagle fans, I love some of you. Go follow him because that's what he does. He trolls the Cowboys all day, every day, and more power to him. So go follow him at Lord _ Brunson because he's your guy, like if you want to troll. But I've had enough, Phil. I've had enough of the Dak bashing. I've had enough of the Jalen Hurts is far and away the better quarterback. And we're going to get into the numbers. Now, I didn't study the numbers. I worked all day today. But I have a good idea where the numbers fall. And when we discuss it, I think we're going to be okay. I'm on board saying you don't need to shit on one quarterback to praise another quarterback. But a lot of the Eagles fans can't seem to do that. They have to compare themselves up to Dak Prescott, Phil. Just answer me why. Why do they feel like they have to match them up to a horrible quarterback in their mind? Why?
Well, one thing that I've noticed, I'm a guy that studies psychology, so I see a lot of these habits and these okay, when you got your certain fan base, and not the ones that are here, but Philadelphia, for example, that have that scripted line.
He won't come here because he knows.
Yeah, he's got those scripted little things about what he says and stuff, and there's some funny ones, the VHS, all that kind of stuff. But it is funny when you get these two, because I mean obviously you got a whole fan base that when they're talking about the Cowboys, it doesn't matter what it is. It's the mascot. Oh, the Eagles mascot's way better. And he goes, oh, the seats are. They go, oh, our seats are way better. Your seats suck. And you're like, that's how it is. It's automatically. And it doesn't matter what subject you're talking about. But when you talk about their team, they have the number one, whatever it is, and then everybody else sucks. And so of course, they're rooted into their team, 100%, and I give them credit for that. But it's and then the recent success that they've had, of course, kind of feeds into it. So we've all been there. Eagles could be doing terrible through the season. We're going to hear crap from them. They're not as much of with the cockroaches in the sense of how you don't see them all the time, but they're still there. And so when they're actually doing good, it's even worse. It's hard to, Bryan can obviously account for it. It's hard to be around. Everybody has Eagle fans as friends in general, and you hear it from them. And we've been into different stadiums and stuff with them. So it's just like it's very hilarious. And don't get me wrong, man. I'm not going to say it's all on that, because we all know these certain Cowboy fans that are extremely annoying. Every single year it's our year, and so it's just, and when they give us crap about us and how we are as fans, I kind of go, yeah, well, we do have those particular fans. So I'm going on a random type of a tangent.
No, you're good. I'm listening to you, man.
But I just think it's funny. It's just we both have had great success through our history in general. We like to bring up each other's championships. Obviously, they like to bring up the old history championships before they were Super Bowls, and you got to give them credit. But again, there was like 10 teams and 10 to 16
we're not
teams.
Going there, man. We're talking about Super Bowls. We're not talking about that.
But there's a
that's
script.
ridiculous.
That's what I'm saying. Each side has a script, and they've had success. I mean, you look at the quarterback positions on both sides. We're talking about two quarterbacks that have had success. But when I look at Jalen Hurts, and I'm going to do a little bit of that, is I look at that team. I have to look at that Eagles team. Now, if you take another quarterback and you stick them into that Eagles team, are they as successful as Jalen? And then you got to say another running type of quarterback. You got to kind of put in the same thing. Is it Justin Fields as is he going to be as successful? Is a Lamar Jackson, is he going to be extremely successful? So to me, I think a lot of those guys would. I don't know about how Fields is, but then again, Fields doesn't really have that star receiver that he's throwing to Chicago, where he would have a couple of guys that he would have here, plus a tight end. So, I look at putting those, same thing with Dak. You take Dak and you put some of these other quarterbacks in there. Are they successful? But when you look at Dak, you're not taking those same quarterbacks. You're not going, okay, let's put Justin Fields in there. No, you're putting up, let's put Josh Allen in there, and it's different. They're different quarterbacks.
I'm on record as saying it's a team game, but I'm going to set that aside tonight because nobody wants to hear about the actual facts. You play college football, Phil. You, of all people, know it's a team game, okay? I'm sure there were seasons that you went into the season saying, we're going to roll, okay? But you had injuries, and maybe the quarterback looked worse than he is because his offensive line was beat up. There's always a reason why. I mean, and then let's just get to the chat because I'm seeing some things here. I want to come at Twiz here. Twiz, and that's fine. He's like, we can lose 2 in a row against the Cowboys as long as we win playoff. That sounds like the Cowboys of old, Twiz. Okay, I was at the stadium. I was at Vet Stadium. Okay, when Barry Switzer, this is the year, 1994, when Emmitt Smith ran into the line 4 times in a row, and you had Merrill Reese in the background said, "They stopped them again." We were done by running the same play 4 times into the line. And you guys won the game. You know who won the Super Bowl that year? The Cowboys. The Cowboys went on to win, but that was your Super Bowl that year. So now it's you've changed that thought process. Well, because I was just listening to WIP today. That's the local radio station, and it was a debate whether they, if you had to lose a game, would it be against the Niners and the Cowboys? And of course, everybody said I'd rather lose to the Niners. We don't want to lose to the Cowboys. Mm-hmm. So you're on an island by yourself, Twiz. Eagles fans want to beat Dallas every week, every time,
every conversation. Yeah, makes sense.
Old school, they never, they wanted to win the Super Bowl, especially under Buddy Ryan. They were such a choking team back in the day that their Super Bowl was stopping the Dallas on, and Emmitt Smith in '94. And that was when the Dallas team wasn't even that great. And we went on to beat Pittsburgh in an ugly Super Bowl that probably we shouldn't have won. But, hey, we got the job done. We actually didn't fumble it away at the end, right? So we got to decide, okay? Is it about wins in a regular season against a team? Is it just playoff wins? Is it stats? Is it not stats? And I'm only saying this because Lord Brunson and his cast of thousands, they just want to shit on Dak. Praise your quarterback. Leave my guy's name out your mouth if you can't be honest and say the dude's a good quarterback. Dak Prescott's record versus the Eagles is 8-3. That's including his rookie year, okay? 8-3 versus the Eagles. That's a pretty darn. We could project that out if you want. That's 16-6. That's 24-9. That's 32-12. You see where I'm going with this? Mm-hmm. That's not my number, Phil. That's not me wishing. That's the fact. Jalen Hurts has never beaten Dak Prescott. So if we're just talking, if we're going to leave the stats on the sideline, and we're just going to talk about wins. Now, me and you have already discussed that it's a team game. All right? Let me ask you this. Well, I've already established that. Let's get into the playoff wins. Jalen Hurts is 2-2 in the playoffs. Right? You tell me I'm wrong, right? How many wins did he have last year?
2.
2, right?
Yep.
He beat the Giants. He beat the Niners. and then
Boom, Super Bowl.
he lost in a Super Bowl. The year prior, he went to Tampa and got his doors blown off. So Jalen Hurts is 2-2 in the playoffs. He's got 2 playoff wins. Dak Prescott is 2-4 in the playoffs. So when Twiz says it's all about the playoffs, they got the same amount of playoff wins. So you're going to blame those 2 losses on Dak?
See, when I look at Dak, I look at the fact that, like, when I look at a quarterback in general, can he lead you in those moments? And I love his leadership. I love what he brings to our team. It's just he needs to put it together at the right moment. I think that's all exactly what it is. Playing great at the right time. I think that, of course, anybody can tell you that's the key to success. You have certain teams that are just better at it. Kansas City knows when to turn it on. Dak is still trying to just figure out the whole playoffs and stuff. And yeah, I mean, it sucks that he hasn't been able to get to the NFC Championship. But there's been teams that that you're like, okay, man, that was a great team. Now it's definitely been a lot more in the sense that I've thought the teams weren't as good. We remember the wide receiver by committee whole thing, and how well that didn't go. And then of course you had the running game, and then there was the defense that really couldn't stop anybody. So there was a combination of stuff that really kind of takes into play and all that. Same thing with Jalen Hurts. Of course, he's not playing because he has a starting quarterback that's in front of him that sucks. And so once he finally gets the reins, there's more of a running. Because when you look at the two, okay, so you're talking about throwing. Who would you pick throwing? Of course, you're going to pick Dak over him. Who will you pick?
Dak all day, every day over Jalen Hurts.
Who are you going to pick running? Who are you going to pick running? You have to give
Jalen Hurts.
Got to give Jalen that stuff. I mean, he's definitely. And there's going to be some stuff. And I'm one of those guys that say this.
You saw what happened when he got hit a little bit and he got knocked out.
And that's really with any running. And that's really
win a game without him.
Yeah. Which is it's crazy because I mean, if you're putting in the same category as they can kind of win with any quarterback. We're talking about a particular quarterback too.
Yes,
we're not talking about we're not talking about the backup quarterbacks.
Now,
but go ahead, continue.
Just remember, people, I'm only defending my quarterback here. I feel obligated to do it. So I see people saying that they're tired of regular season. Well, we're going to get into regular season stats. We will, but I mean, ultimately, it comes down to it's playoffs. Twiz, last year, not this past year, the year prior, okay, that was Jalen Hurts' first. Yeah, he started in Tampa. They got their doors blown off. Okay, last year. Just a little over than a year ago from where we're sitting today, they had a deal in place, and I've talked about this before. Howie, the Messiah Roseman, who they want to put a bust in Canton, Ohio, okay, had a deal in principle with the Seattle Seahawks. This was last year, before last season. This is how sure of that they were on your awesome Jalen Hurts quarterback. They had a deal in place to have Russell Wilson be the quarterback of the Philadelphia Eagles last year. Okay, that's how sure he was just 13 months ago. All right, this is after, if you want to stop time there, his playoff record was horrendous, 0-1, getting blown out by Tom Brady. Now, me and Phil have talked about it. That's not how we really feel. But tonight is about sticking up for our guy. And just last year, he was benched, okay? They were bringing Russell in. Russell said, hell no, I won't go. I ain't going to Philly. So that's what happened, folks. That's not me saying it. That's not Phil saying it. Has now come out. Howie Roseman had a deal in place, and Russell Wilson said, I'm not playing in Philly. So that's between Russell and you guys. But you rolled the dice on a lot of free agents. You hit it. Jalen played great, and we're going to get into his MVP runner-up season as opposed to just a year prior, Dak Prescott. Now, I haven't analyzed these numbers, but we're going to get into it.
Yeah, when I look into it as well too, I mean, everybody talks about last year. Oh, he improved. He's the same quarterback with a better roster around him. Hey, if I expect Dak. Yeah, Dak did some great numbers yesterday, but last year, I mean, Dak didn't have the weapons. They has weapons. There should be no excuse. And yeah, I totally agree. You know, there's going to be little things here and there on both sides. It's not just Dak. Dak has a new offensive coordinator. Guess what? The Eagles have that as well too. I mean, they got two defensive coordinators as well. So I mean, there's going to be some new voices in there, and so there's going to be things that affect it. And I mean, you're not going to have the exact same roster that comes out and play the exact same way. We all know what happens when the NFL finally kind of goes in here and goes, okay, we have tape on everybody. What happens when you get a number one schedule? And, that's what we had to deal with last year. Number one schedule. And, of course, we
won 12 wins under that scenario. Good luck, Eagles. I'm not saying you can or won't, but good luck. Let's just get into Elena Walker. And Elena, this is my one night to be, funny. A little aggressive. So don't take it personal. She says, I count the Super Bowl separate. Dak ain't been there. Well, Elena, do you know who Billy Beane is? He is the... he's actually still within the organization with the Oakland A's. If you ever saw the movie Moneyball, this is a quote from Billy Beane. Okay, if you lose the last game of the season, nobody gives a shit, Elena. That's just honest to God's truth. When Dallas lost in the 70s to Pittsburgh Steelers, nobody gave a shit. Sorry, not sorry. Nobody cares that the Eagles went to the Super Bowl last year. If you ain't going to win it, nobody cares.
Well, they got their rings. They got their NFC Championship rings.
And I got news for you. I live not far from Philly. They ain't going to be liking that night.
So
first home game.
Let me jump on this real quick.
The banner being held and they finished higher than Dallas. That's probably about it.
All right, hold on one second.
That's probably about it.
So we got Donald saying, I'm a Dak fan, but he crapped the bed last year, but it's a new year. And I agree. He definitely, when I look at that game, I was right after it saying 2 interceptions, totally his fault. Like, yeah, man, that there's the time and the place that you can get away with that stuff. The playoffs is definitely not one of them.
He shit the bed.
Yeah, I mean, but he did.
How really did he shit the bed?
Well, I mean, the defense kept
INTs. He had a broken thumb and missed a month of the season.
No. We're talking about the playoff in that sense. He's talking about like that. I think the last game of the season where your defense kept you in the game, your offense wasn't anything good. Yeah, but at the same time, I'm looking at the fact that this team had the possibility to beat them, and they just couldn't put anything together.
I understand what you're saying, that it possibly could have beaten the Niners. I understand what you're saying. He didn't play great, but he played unbelievably in Tampa, okay, number one. He broke his thumb, had to have surgery on his thumb, came back, still led the league in scoring when he was in the starting lineup. Our defense gave up 19 points in the 49er game. Okay, it was good enough to win. Our running game was non-existent. Do people understand? Did Dak play great? He didn't play great in that one playoff game. Okay, and the year prior, remember, he had the ball. He went down and scored the damn touchdown.
You're going to make me be this guy. But when you have somebody like, for example, Mahomes, I think Mahomes, when he lost in that Super Bowl, they didn't have a running game at all, and he was throwing these passes that you were like, nope, you cannot.
He's not Mahomes.
Yeah,
there's not many Mahomes. Though.
No. I guess that was a bad example in that sense.
That's the problem. No,
I'm talking about more in the sense that when you lose a game, you look automatically at the quarterback and you go, okay, that definitely wasn't his fault. I just can't put it on there. I mean, I got to put some on Kellen Moore because he wasn't whipping out anything new. It was pretty vanilla, so I'm not going to give it on that.
A minute ago. You said something a minute ago. The talent that Jalen Hurts had around him. Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, and that's where I say where he says Hurts definitely improved in his throwing last year, and it has to do with the people that he got. Yeah,
but it's no coincidence. I will challenge anybody, you and anybody in this chat, that has Dak ever had the offensive line that Hurts had last year. I'm not saying Dak hasn't had a good offensive line. Maybe his rookie year was his best, but he had Dallas Goedert, who's a top 2 or 3 tight end in this league. You can't tell me any different. He had 2, not 1, 2 top 10 wide receivers. Okay,
he had an all-pro line.
Offensive side of the ball.
All-pro line.
Tight end.
Yep.
That's offensive line. and that's receivers. He had 2 top 10 rated wide receivers. It's no surprise you go out and get an A.J. Brown. Your offensive line stays healthy, that you have the season that you had. It's not a surprise, Phil.
No.
Tell me when Dak's had, okay, and we're going to get into the stats soon. I have them here. I will read them off. But Dak had it. Now, I would say Amari Cooper was comparable to the Eagles' number 2 guy out of Alabama. You know what I'm talking about. That we
Smith, Devontae Smith.
Right. Yeah, Devontae Smith. Now, I'm going to read you last year's stats for Jalen Hurts in the season. Sorry, this is what it's going to be, okay? Well, you know what? Let me pull up Jalen Hurts right now. Let me just pull it up and
look. Either way,
we could see.
When we go back, we're gonna go deeper into this. But either way, I'm happy with my guy. I feel we finally putting a team, and of course, when we talked about earlier in this program, we're talking about that offensive line having questions. We're talking about the running game not being as great. But then again, think about last year. Zeke wasn't great, and so can it improve? Yes, it can definitely improve. It's just hard for me to believe that Ronald Jones and I like the guy Deuce Vaughn. I think he's going to do some amazing things. But again, he's the same type of pace that Tony Pollard is, and I want that kind of that power back. That's going to that's why I love the fact that Cook is out there. I just if the money's right,
Yeah. Last year, okay, games played. Jalen Hurts, he played in 15 games. Okay, you remember he missed the 2 they lost. Okay, he had completions and attempts. He basically was attempted 460 passes, completed 306. A completion percentage of 66.5. That's high. That's good. Average 8 yards a pass. This is an MVP season. He had 22 passing touchdowns and 6 INTs. Okay? Now he had rushing. He had how many rushing TDs? Do we know, people?
He had quite a bit.
Yeah, I want to say he had a shit ton. But we're talking, are we talking, what do you call a quarterback? You can't go your whole season. He got banged up already. I don't care how many squats you could do.
Well, we talk about that. When did Robert Griffin ruin his career? When these guys that are running quarterbacks ruin their careers? When they were running out the pocket.
Jalen's got his contract.
Yeah,
trust me. He's got his contract now. He's got to live up to that now. He had a lot of running touchdowns. I want to say he had. Just really look real fast how many rushing touchdowns, because I know that's a part of his game, but he only had 22 and 6. Now the difference is, we all know, we keep hearing the word 15. Okay, Dak had 15 INTs last year. Okay,
about half
the highest of his career. The highest of his career by, I believe he had 11 in his MVP type. Hold up, I got shit going on.
It was 2006. It was 2016. You compare the 2016 rookie year with Dak compared to Jalen's last year.
Well, I'm looking at it now. Okay, I'm looking at it. Like I said, 66.5 completion percentage for Jalen Hurts. He threw for 3,700 yards, and he had 22 touchdowns and 6 INTs. Just a year prior, when Dak was healthy for the full 16 games, Dak had 394 attempts, less attempts, 261 completions. So he had 40 less completions.
So
at a 66.2. So it's a 66.5 to a 66.2. Yeah. Okay.
Well, when I look at these, like I said, when I look at Jalen Hurts in the sense of throwing it down the field, getting paid less to do more, I get it. My whole thing is, I feel the same way in the sense, what happens if he was to kick it down the field? Wouldn't somebody catch it? That's kind of the equivalence. He was just throwing it into that general section. Don't get me wrong, there were some times where he did put the money on, he did put the ball on there, and you're like, okay, that was a great pass. Like they say, even a blind squirrel will find a nut.
Stats for Dak. Yeah, well, Jalen threw for last year, his MVP runner-up season. He threw for 3,700 yards with 22 touchdowns. Just the year prior, Dak threw for 4,450, 4,449 yards, 37 touchdowns, and 10 INTs. 37 touchdowns, people.
I think eventually
37.
at some point the running quarterback has the problems, but you got to give credit in the sense what the potential of each guy is, and so I mean that's the reason why. That's why Eagle fans feel that, hey man, they're very proud to have their quarterback. Look at this, man. We're debating between ourselves about where we're going to end up and who's going to be better and who's going to be passing who, and we're not even bringing the Giants up or Washington. We don't have that same respect. There's every single category. When you look at these two teams, you can put your own guy in the race of possible candidates that could be top 5, top 10 in that position. And so, you don't have that with the Giants. Danny Dimes isn't somebody we're going, oh yeah, top 10 quarterback. I don't even know if he's top 32. So I mean, he's getting paid like it. You got Barkley. He's a threat. You're getting some guys on there that, don't get me wrong, they're getting better. Both teams are definitely getting better. It's just that you got two other teams that are on the top of the NFC East that are looking pretty powerful. So I mean, I just think it's funny because of course we're debating amongst ourselves, but there are two other teams.
Atlanta Walker says, "I love my QB. That's my QB," and you should, Atlanta. You should love Jalen Hurts. Me and Phil just commended him a few weeks ago that he went. He didn't have
graduated,
to.
Yeah.
He's set for life. He went and got his college degree. I like the man. I really do. This is more about defending our guy. And, you put somebody in the corner, you have two choices. You're just going to roll over or you're going to fight back. Let me just I know you guys are getting lost in the stats. I'm just going to give you just a quick full career. Now, this is not just picking Jalen Hurts' best year against Dak's best year. I've showed you Dak threw for way more touchdowns. He didn't run for as much, but if you're, name me the last running quarterback, and don't tell me Steve Young, because Steve Young didn't run nowhere near what Jalen Hurts is running. That was very successful. In order to be successful in this league, you're throwing from the pocket. And Jalen has come a long way, but he's not on Dak's level numbers-wise. Now, let's go over career, Phil. Career. Games played. Dak's got 97 to Jalen Hurts' 45. Career completion percentage. Dak is 66.6. Jalen is 62%. Okay. Passing yards. Dak is thrown for almost 25,000 yards. Jalen has passed for almost 8,000 yards. Passing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts has 44 career passing touchdowns. Dak has 166.
And how many? I would say 44. And how many did he score last year? 22. Was it 22 passing touchdowns?
Yeah, 22.
So in last year,
he had half of them in 1 year.
Yeah.
All I'm trying to say is here, people, you got a good quarterback. I've heard this same thing before with Carson Wentz. You paid him the big money. He was there, 2 more years, Phil? And then he was done. Now, I'm not saying he's a Carson Wentz, but are we going to go with numbers? Are we going to go with wins? Dak has them both against the Eagles. Are we going to go with playoff wins? They still have the same amount of playoff wins. So, where are we going with it? What I'm trying to say is it's not as far off as people want to make it out. Moral of the story, Phil, let the trolls be trolls. The Cowboys are the most watched team. Whenever they're on TV, people watch. You love them, you hate them, you watch. It doesn't matter. What we're saying is back off of the Dak Prescott bullshit, because you're not winning anywhere when you look into the numbers. You can't just yell stupid crap over and over and over. And unless you're just talking to your own clan, like you're talking to your own group of fans. All the Eagles fans want to just sit in the corner and go, yeah, he sucks. Oh, if that makes you happy, fine. But the numbers don't bear that out. Your guy has a lot more to do. He should have won the damn Super Bowl, and that maybe would have shut me up. But he didn't. You gave up another 40 points, and that's another thing I would get into.
I think it's
your
funny.
Your defense is a walking 40 bomb.
Yeah, I think Dak is successful despite the Joneses. We all know Catboy and the situations that we've had. He hasn't been willing to spend on money on people that were willing to come here and possibly take less money and booster. So I mean, he's had to win kind of despite that stuff. So when I look at the Super Bowl stuff, obviously I look at the Cowboys and how long they've been away from it. I'm like, but when I look at the coaching staff, Mike McCarthy, how long has it been since he has? Well, at least he's been there, shorter time than we have. What about Dan Quinn? Of course he didn't win it, but he at least got there. So he knows the formula. And so we put that together. I'm liking where this team is going. But hey, it's put up or shut up time. I think by this point, we got an amazing roster. There's question marks, of course, with the kicker. I think that's still going to be something. I mean, unless till somebody comes out of nowhere and starts kicking them in preseason, is that going to make me feel comfortable? But offensive line, running backs, there's some things on his team that kind of worry me a little bit. And I'm interested to see where this team is by the end of the training camp, and if we've added anybody with other people being released. What happens to Dalvin Cook? Is Zeke one of those guys that are coming back, and we're going to waste a roster spot on him? I'm on that bandwagon.
I don't know what's up with Zeke, man. I want him back. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not a big Ronald Jones guy. Yeah, bring him back. Whatever. Pollard's going to start anyway. So, but and I see Elena saying that, that we're sensitive. It's not that we're sensitive. It's just enough is enough. He even got criticized for being Man of the Year. You should see people on Twitter saying that the Cowboys or that Dak Prescott and Cole's Cowboys, he could attest that Dak Prescott has just as much of a chance of winning the Super Bowl as his brother being reincarnated. Now, I don't know in what world we live in that we got to be that cruel. His stats, his career stats are better than Jalen's. Jalen hasn't. If it's not a team game, right? If we're not going to say that it's all on the quarterback, right? Are we saying it's all on the quarterback? And that, then Jalen hasn't beaten Dak.
Yeah. So when I look at this, Elena Walker,
still know better that it's a team game.
Yeah.
But you can't have it both ways. Is it a team game? Okay.
Yeah, a lot of Walker's again, 3 years compared to 7. You know what I have to say is they're probably in the same career time.
First year
hold on. To me, the shelf life says they're at the same point because Dak and how he plays, he's a little bit safer. He's probably got another 7 years. I'm not gonna lie, probably another 5 to 7 years in his thing. But the way Jalen is playing, another 3 years.
3?
So I mean, both could be halfway through their career. So you say that 3 to 7, but I mean, it's if he keeps playing that same way, you might see the half of the point right now.
But all right, Atlanta, like you say, 3 to 7. Dak missed almost a whole year in games with injury. He had the leg, right? That a lot of people wouldn't have come back from. He's had injuries. This is a physical game. Mm-hmm. But
and Dak's a big guy, so I mean he's had some freak accidents.
Dak's numbers to this point dwarf Jalen Hurts. All we're saying is Jalen had a great season last year
with a great team around him. Yeah.
Do not do this to Jalen Hurts, and don't bring down Dak in order to do it. And I gave you numbers. Dak's numbers are better. Dak's MVP season was better than Jalen Hurts by a long shot.
Yeah, and I'll tell you the one thing is when Dak was putting up those type of numbers, the same thing as Jalen was, we didn't have a defense to stop. So I mean, Dak was putting those numbers up despite the defense and everything. Where Jalen has the defense that gets the ball back for him. So right now Dak, of course, he's in a better situation because he's benefiting from a defense that can go after the ball. So I think both of them, again, like I said, they both have ammo to kind of make themselves be a lot better. Because I mean, even Glimmerman is in here. He's like definitely a chance to be number one in the sense of this defense, and I would have to agree, man. That. And I again, I'm always on the kind of reserve fence before I start saying stuff about teams, especially once injuries. There's so many things that can jump in there and just wreck everything that you kind of thought was going to happen. But when you're looking at it right now, I mean, yeah, it looks amazing, and I do want to see these guys start flying around with the attitude. Dan Quinn getting them all riled up. It's interesting. It's the offense again that I have my questions about, and it's definitely not about Dak. It's about other things.
Yeah. Well, Twiz says that Dak hit 23, 22, 23, and 22 in the first 3 years. That just proves my point. Your MVP
with
year,
the running back doing a bunch of the stuff too, though.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
Your
it wasn't.
MVP
Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying is that kind of makes my point. They said Dak was a shit quarterback then. He had the same amount of touchdown passes as your guy. So,
in your MVP season.
Yeah, and I understand that Jalen ran the ball, but I got news for you. Teams aren't going to allow that this year. You could book it now. They're not going to play the same way. They're not. Your chance to win it all was last year. Does that mean you can't win it? No, I'm not saying that, but you had it lined up. You had it teed up. It was your time to win. You didn't get it done. Your defense gave up 40 points, okay? This is where we get into the team game. We're going to come full circle. I'm tired of doing the Dak stinks, Jalen's better than Dak. I got news for you. If Kelsey gets hurt, Jalen's going to get killed, okay? That's just the way it is. It's called a team game. Yeah, we get all.
Well, I mean,
we don't want to do stats.
I like
we
it,
don't
Twist.
want to
He's
do
like
wins.
Jalen had 13 TDs to go with the 22 passing. Well, I mean, if you're going to jump into that thing, I mean, just because your offensive coordinator doesn't run your quarterback like ours, do we throw in Pollards in there? How many did your running backs have? It's like not very many. Your running backs barely touched the ball because it was mostly Jalen. So you see, it's just if you're going to be, what was your main runner on your offense? Jalen, who was our main runner on our offense, wasn't Dak. It was the other guys. Do we add those stats in there?
He was limited in the Super Bowl, I will tell you right now, because of the injury, because he was running, because he got hit. Dirty hit, doesn't matter. Defenses don't care. They want to take your quarterback out. They just do. You're not going to hold up playing that way. And I got news. They brought back the band this year. Not all the band. You lost 6 guys on defense, and we'll get into that. I know we're getting a little late in the game, but Dallas. I keep hearing. I see people. Even Lord Brunson said Eagles defense is better than Dallas. That's just categorically false. Okay, you may like a player. Hassan Reddick. They got him for next to nothing. He had a career year. Hats off to Hassan Reddick. Okay, but now you lost 6 players off the defense. Okay, you brought back your 2 guys on the corners. Is anybody afraid of James Bradbury? And you sign him to a long-term deal? Nobody's afraid of James Bradbury. He played for a contract. He had a decent year last year. We still scored 40 against you.
Yeah, so I'm going to hear, let's hear what Donald here he goes, we call Cousins trash, but basically Dak and Cousins have the same career. Now, when you think about primetime games, when you look at the stats and all that, you're kind of looking at that going, okay, you can mirror it. No, when the lights are on, that's when Cousins disappears. That's not Dak. Dak, when the lights are on, he's definitely a lot better than he is bad. I mean, there's definitely those times where he's had a lot of comebacks for us. He's driven this. We can't help that the defense kind of helped. Allowed them to kind of rush it back on Dak. So I mean, Aaron Rodgers definitely knows about that. When Dak goes down, scores it, Aaron Rodgers comes back and scores. You can't help sometimes the competition that you go against. But when you look at that, when you look at the stats, of course, of Cousins, that guy, I don't think he's won a game in prime time. When you
Dallas beat them 40-3 last year.
So I mean, when the lights come on, I think they're just 2 different quarterbacks. So, but I can see you can definitely say that.
I mean,
Dak gets compared to Josh Allen,
receiver in the league.
Yeah,
he had Dalvin Cook. I don't know what they're smoking in Minnesota that they didn't want to bring him back, but his offense was dynamic. They had Adam Thielen. They had a good offensive line. Their defense is what killed them last year. Their defense was horrible. Kirk Cousins is a good quarterback. Is he a championship winning quarterback? He has a problem in prime time.
Yeah,
don't know.
I
He's
mean, look at
stud.
this year. I think you might see his last year in Minnesota. Honestly, going into this, he hasn't really been able to prove anything. He's gotten big contracts, hasn't really been able to prove really anything. Just even getting to the playoffs, going deep. When the playoffs go, they're gone. But at least there's I don't know. There can be some buzz around him. I know when he was in Washington, there was a lot of hopes around him as well too. I mean, he did really well. They just couldn't get him signed to a long contract. So it's interesting to see what happens in Cousins' career, because I don't think it's going to happen in Minnesota. So
Yeah, and Dano says Cousins has a better record against risers. Yeah, and
yeah, but look at the
Dan,
fact that
I understand what you're getting at.
Yeah.
I'm just here tonight. I'm always going to defend Dak, but this is my one night to say, this is our show. We're going to say stop it, and we're going to do a head-to-head, the stats. This is what we're going to do. But Dan Marino never won a Super Bowl, and he's probably got one of the best arms ever to play the position. Okay, it's argued.
Defense sucks.
You could argue he was better. We all know he had the quickest release ever at the quarterback position. He never got back. He went to the Super Bowl his rookie year, went to the Super Bowl and lost, never got back. That doesn't mean he's a bad quarterback. It's a team game, okay? And Dano says it's what you do in the playoffs. Okay, Dak's got 2 playoff wins. Our nemesis isn't the Eagles. It's our record against the Eagles in the playoffs is damn good. Our nemesis is the Niners right now. We need to find a way to get past the Niners. But it's a team game, people. Dak's stats are great. He had a down year last year, on the year where he had a broken thumb. He's had a lot in his short career. He's had a lot of adversity. And being a quarterback of the Cowboys is not easy. His brother committed suicide. His mother died before he put on a Cowboys jersey of cancer. He just won NFL Man of the Year. I would think that anybody with any sort of decency in class would say, you know what, take a step back. I know I hate the Cowboys, but let's laud this guy for being the person that he is. Not to mention a damn good quarterback. And he's my quarterback, so that's how I'm going to end it.
Daniel says, I love Dak. He needs to have a good playoff run this year, or I don't think he gets a new contract. Yeah, I'm hoping. I mean, I'm kind of the same thing. I'm a big Dak fan. I'm not going to say he's the best quarterback to ever rip a Cowboys fan. No. I'm not going to do that. I like where because of course I had those year Quincy Carter. I've had Vinny Testaverde. I've had those times where we suffered through quarterback. So at least I know a good quarterback when I see one. I can hang my hat on the fact that I can believe in him when the game is important. So I mean, whether he comes out and plays terrible, I know that he has problems occasionally with the zone defense where he throws it to the linebacker. That's just something he has, but at least I can say I'm not telling you he throws dimes all day and
I ain't trying to tell you solar.
They call him Danny,
right?
like New York. They call him Danny Dimes. It feels like it's more sarcastically than it is.
Don't worry, we're gonna get into Danny Dimes next week. We're gonna start ripping other people. This is our one day.
Yeah,
I was hoping to see more Eagles fans. I don't see.
We'll get in the comments.
In the chat, man.
We'll get in the comments, but I think it's definitely going to be an interesting year on both sides. Even hear some stuff from the Giants. I think the Giants did a lot better than they were supposed to do last year, and it kind of throw them. I think that's going to kind of stun their little development a little bit. They still got some really good pickups, but it's all about improving. I mean, did your roster get better than it did last year? And yes, for the Giants, their roster definitely got better. Same thing for the Washington Commanders, and so. I think you don't see a whole lot of drop when you come to both the Eagles and the Cowboys. You see that both teams improving. You did have some new things, whether they're going to have both sides are going to rely on a lot of young players. They're going to rely on an offensive coordinator that, we know the system, it's the same thing. And no. It's not going to always be 100% of the same thing. It's not going to be the same voices. So there's a lot of stuff very comparable to both teams and how they're going to respond. The schedule, even though the Cowboys, they weren't going to get the number one those type of schedules, they still got a pretty tough schedule at the top 5 as well too.
That's
so
basically what the Eagles have, minus a game here or there, but it's Very tough schedule. Glimmerman says, I just want to see these players on the damn field.
Amen.
Start the season. That
Yes.
will be fine. I'm with you, man. This is just like we're poking fun. Atlanta, I appreciate it. Twiz, it's time to get the season going. Yeah, this is like the dog days, Glimmerman. This is like we got to wait now until, July 27th? And even then, it's not, like, Phil, this training camp isn't what it used to be. They only play in 3 games. Don't expect to see Dak. Don't expect it. You'll see all these young people. Let's just get to the season. Andre C. Just curious, what are you guys' realistic division standings at the end of the regular season, given the tough schedule? Well, I'm on record to say, me personally, and I think me and Phil are going to revisit the schedule after the preseason, right before the start of the season. I think that would be cool. I'm on record to say that the Eagles and Cowboys win 11 wins, Giants win 10, and Washington, I believe, has up 7, just because their schedule is friggin' brutal. So I think, listen, at the end of the day, Phil, I think the road goes through Dallas and Philly. It's going to come down to Dallas, Philly, and the Niners. All of a sudden now, Detroit is getting all this love. Okay, you've got a lot to prove, Detroit. I know you're going to be good. Twiz 13-4. You're on drugs, bro. Take another hit. And I love you, but you know what I'm about. But yeah, so Detroit, I don't know. We'll see. I think they'll be good, but I don't know. It's going to come down to Dallas and Eagles. It just is. Whoever's most healthy is going to come out.
Yeah, I mean, you got certain teams that were always somewhat in the running,
Mark
like Green
Hudson's
Bay.
in the house. What up?
Got young guys. San Francisco, I'm interested to see what they do with their somewhat new quarterback. Is it a new quarterback? Not really.
You got a guy
you got
coming
the
back
Saints.
from Tommy John surgery.
You
Good
got
luck.
some guys that you could be surprised. I mean, the Saints could be on the board as well too, but I don't think they're going to be an extremely ultimate threat. They were very negative last year in the sense of the salary cap going into the offseason. They were able to make some great moves, but definitely a lot to overcome from where they are compared to what they got. Of course, Derek Carr, that's a big pickup, but you still got guys like Jameis Winston on the roster. So it's going to be an interesting season. Again, I'm with you guys. I want the season to hurry up and start. But yeah, we're definitely going to get into more of the NFC East. Go along with the Giants, go with the Washington, whatever they call themselves, and because they may even have to change their name again, right? I mean, they couldn't even get the website or something. They couldn't get. I can't remember what it was.
We don't know what they're going to be called. Oh, Atlanta's saying 14-2. So talk about trolling.
Both teams, trolling. The 2 teams
Everything
they lost.
I just said,
No. Hold on. The 14-2 with the 2 teams,
right?
Yeah, the 2 losses being against the Cowboys. So yeah, that's okay.
And they're fine with that as long as they go on to win the Super Bowl.
But no, anything you want to get into? There was a whole 2 weeks.
Listen, I needed to get that off my chest, Phil.
You're gonna ruffle some feathers, man. There's gonna be some people poking at you.
It is what it is. This is the dog days, but everybody's talking about Dak. Everybody's got to drag Dak through the mud. I got your back, boy. I got your Dak. Your back, Dak. This is where you come if you want to be checked, because we're not going to let it go. You want record? You want stats? Well, Dak's got it. Is he perfect? No, he's not perfect. He's not a perfect quarterback. Mm-mm. Is he Patrick Mahomes? No, he's not. There's not many Patrick Mahomeses out there. But no, that's all I have for tonight. We will definitely, hopefully, be back next week.
Yep, should be.
And we will get into it more. Well, I'm sure something will happen. I'm sure we didn't touch on it. I have a bunch of stuff here. D-Hop and what's his name? Dalvin Cook are still out there. Expect D-Hop to go to the Patriots, but talking about going together somewhere. Maybe the Eagles will get them both, right? Maybe they'll get them both, and we can just crown them before they play a game, and we won't have to worry about playing the season. We'll just give them the Super Bowl trophy, right?
Oh man, you just sound It's game.
There's
a whole lot of off season to get all bitter and resentful. So let's kind of drag that a little bit. Let's save some.
All right, we're gonna drag it out. We're gonna troll a little bit. We're gonna troll.
Yeah, but no, honestly, I appreciate you guys coming through. You guys, the trash talking, all that. It's ready to kind of get in the air. At least we can get that kind of worked up, kind of in the crock pot, simmering, heating up, getting ready for the season. So by the time the season comes, it is over spewing and ready to just kind of be devoured, because we are ready now in June for some football, and I just want some training camp. I want something to kind of just be able to watch, read about. People hitting each other even though they're getting suspended, and there's a possibility of draft picks.
No gambling.
Yeah,
you can't gamble. No gambling.
But anyways, I appreciate you guys coming through.
Maybe
Comment.
we can get into that next time.
If you're rewatching, anybody in general, hit the like button. But if you're rewatching, give us your comments on the bottom. Who do you back up? Whose corner are you in? Oh man, it took me a little bit to spit that one out.
Hashtag Dak.
Yeah.
Or hashtag Jalen.
So I'm interested to hear what you guys. Like I said before, both sides have a lot of ammo to work with, and so both teams should be, both team fans should be very happy with. I know I am. I know Eagle fans are as well too.
Thanks, Twitch.
So we'll see how this goes on, and kind of like as the world turns, man, the drama continues with this team. So thank you, Bryan, for joining us this week, and I appreciate all you guys in the chat. So, and one thing I won't ever forget is to do what?
Always ring that bell.
Damn right.
Hey! We know each other. He's a friend from work.
What you do, you're like a little screw loose type of guy, and that's how I am. So I'm digging it, big guy. I am.
Who are you?
You.
No, not me, you.
Yes, I am you.
Just answer the damn questions. Who are you?
GameTime Bryan, otherwise known as the mailman here,
Cool name. Superpowers?
broadcasting from the illustrious Jobu Studio.
Come on, are you gonna tell me who that is?
Primetime Phil, and of course my co-host, GameTime Bryan.
Oh, Jesus Christ, this place is going to explode. $100,000, I don't even need to hear it.